Hey guys, Dan Lenny here with another episode of the How to Scale a Video Business podcast. Today's episode features Somi Aryan, a tech philosopher, investor and filmmaker from the UK. Somi and I did an episode last week which I really strongly recommend you check out, where we talked about what it took to make her documentary and how that led to a book deal, an actual paid for book deal with a business publisher, and other opportunities that came off the back of making that documentary. Today we're going to go and have quite a serious conversation about where our industry is going in terms of tech, because we both feel that there's a very real threat with machine learning to things like editing and how our industry is going to be impacted by machine learning over the next 5 to 10 years. Fascinating insights from Somi, who's an absolute leader in her field. She's a LinkedIn top voice. I know you're going to love this. If you do enjoy these episodes, please do subscribe. And also please do leave a review. It really helps us on your favorite podcast platform to get the message out there, and please do share it with other people who you think might benefit. Please do enjoy the show. We're recording this in the middle of the pandemic.
Yes.
And the businesses that have cash in the bank, who are nimble, are sitting pretty just now. I would imagine any business that's over leveraged and scaled too fast is in a very, very tight position.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And this should be a lesson to us all, a really valuable lesson to us all, that going too fast, going too big, buying too much gear, having too much at risk, like there are probably, and this is a tough thing for many families just now, is that I've always maintained that the majority of the population are 2 paychecks away from financial ruin.
Yes.
And that financial ruin is now potentially upon them. And that's going to be a really tough lesson for a lot of people. But I just wanted to kind of really reinforce that if you go too big and you leverage too much, it creates really negative stress.
Yes, absolutely. One thing that I understood very quickly when I was creating the documentary was that you don't need incredible gear. Because remember Moore's Law. I talk about Moore's Law a lot in my book, and I can't even remember how much of it my editor took out, but I talk about this exponential growth of technology, and remember the power of technology is doubling every other year. So the iPhone that I have now, I know that by the next iPhone it will be so much better. And after that, it will be so much better. And we are getting to a point now that I can imagine that within the next 2 years, 2-3 years, I mean, that's how fast it's growing. I will probably won't even be using my GH5s. So then I need to find a way to justify, and I mean, even already with this COVID-19, this is happening in that, I'm trying to, for example, one of my clients now is in south of France, and I'm getting his son to record him on the iPhone and send me the footage, and then we edit it and put it. So that's one step closer to the person saying, I don't need you. But he is going to need me because of the business model that I built. So if you think that you can create a cookie cutter business and scale it, you're wrong. It's not going to happen. You might do it for a short amount of time, but because of the way that technology is growing, and that's everything that book is about, because of the way that technology is growing, you are not going to be able to do that. You are not even going to be able to necessarily create a business out of being an influencer. Even that has got a short time span. There's a whole section in my book on the influencer culture, and the reason is that we are entering in an era where there's going to be an increasing overlap between the digital, virtual world and digital world and the physical world. There are already Instagram accounts of digital influencers, virtual influencers that are not real people, that are in render, that are, able to, as long as, anything that can be replicated will be replicated. So you want to be creating a business model that nobody can replicate. That it's not that nobody can replicate, but what it is that it's going to take so much hard work that many people will give up. That will be like, there are so many things. You need to find that inner talent, something in you that is going to help you do something special. Don't be a headline reader, be a deep diver. And I was like, most people read headlines. I'm not a headline reader. I read the to the very footnote, because the proof is in the footnote. It's in the details. When I read a book, I also read all the books that book was based on. All the references. I look at the references, and the most interesting quotes in that book, I'm like, oh, I need to read that book. That was bad. So when you think of it that way, I've not built a business that is going to generate multi-millions for me. I might generate multi-millions from my other investments, but my business, my core business, is not a multi-million-dollar or pound business. It's very niche. It can be scaled, but it can be scaled within limit, and it takes time. And I don't mind it, because it provides me with a nice income that I can support. It's a lifestyle business. Daniel Priestley talks about this. He's like, there are a few different business types, right? So there's the lifestyle business, which is up to about 12 people, a team of about 12 people, and you have no ambition of making it bigger. You want to focus on, generating a high level of income within that, and everybody has a nice, comfortable life. And usually those are business models that not many people try to replicate. It's where most people want to go for the big thing. And we have a saying in Persian, which says, trying to pick up and throw a big stone is a sign of never being able to do it. So it's like, like being to be a lot of, there's a chapter in my book on critical thinking, and it's about thinking critically. There's a whole section on thinking critically about your success. So we need to think critically, and I thought critically about my success, and I had to redefine success to myself. So I'd say, don't go for scale, and don't rely too much on technology. So the whole premise of the book is that we need human skills. We need to develop our human skills. Our human skills are emotional intelligence, critical thinking, contextual creativity, and this new business model is built on contextual creativity, which I will just explain, and mindfulness. And and mindfulness, I argue, is at the core of all of these, because mindfulness, what it does, it helps you be fully engaged. Most of us are not fully engaged. We are just going through the motion. We are on autopilot, and we are trying to follow the trend. I used to get, even until like 3 or 4 years ago, I used to get really frustrated when I looked at Entrepreneur, magazine, and like looked at social media, and I'm like, all these people were, becoming successful, making $1 million businesses in a short time. And I was like, how are they doing it? Why can't I do it? And then I became realistic about my background, my where I come from, what are some of the things that are values to me. And I realized that my value was not money. My value was something bigger. My value is the thrill of learning, the thrill of gaining knowledge, understanding, that sort of, I'm a seeker. I'm not a money seeker, I'm a knowledge seeker. So I think
so it just sounds like what you're saying. I just want to recap for those listening. Is that if you're a filmmaker right now, the skills you might be selling right now, which are editing and filming, you want to be thinking about becoming more of a producer, but not just a producer, a well-read producer, someone who
Yes.
understands technology and messaging, because that seems to me, and sorry to interrupt you there, I think it's an important point, is that
Yes.
the filmmakers need to be pivoting now, because the
Yes.
future is never going to be the same. So they need to be thinking about how can you add value to not just the filming job, but the outcome the client's looking to achieve, and go niche.
Exactly. The key word you said here is the outcome that the client is looking to achieve. That's exactly the key word, right? So people are selling, filmmakers are selling the wrong thing. They are selling their filmmaking expertise. That's not what people are buying. What people are buying is a solution to their problem. So you need to find a market that resonates with you, that you can solve a problem in that market, which I found that market for us at the moment. That could change. See, one of the things that you've got to accept that nothing is permanent. You have to be ready to constantly pivot, constantly. You know, you can't say, oh, okay, I'm sorted for this year. Look, I honestly thought I was sorted for this year. By March, me and Lola looked at, beginning of March, me and Lola looked at the amount of invoices that we had submitted and the contracts that we had already, signed. And by the beginning of March, end of February, I remember I was on the phone to my friend Justine from Marie Claire, and I told her, yeah, I just had a great day with Lola. We went through everything together. By the end of February, we've already exceeded, in terms of invoices and contracts, we've already exceeded the whole of last year in terms of our income, which means that we still have another 10 months to bring in so much more income. Look, a month later, it's exactly a month later, I've lost all of that.
Decimated, just gone like that. Yeah.
Yes. Like I've lost, like some of my talks have been postponed, but yeah, I've lost a lot of money, and it's like, you've got to be ready for that,
And yet you don't seem worried.
No, I'm not worried because I, for several reasons, I'm living in an Airbnb right now, right? So you could say that I should be very worried. I've just come out of a 5-year relationship. I'm living in an Airbnb. I'm trying to buy a flat, and it's been one problem after another. There are several reasons why I'm not worried. One is that I love challenges, because I feel like when there are challenges, there are not many people who have my resilience. And every time there is challenge, it means there will be less competition after that. So if I can get through the challenge and come out of the other side still being indispensable to my clients, then I'm in a good place. And I'm taking this time. For me, my day hasn't changed. Honestly, I have been so busy. The only thing that has changed is that maybe I can go on a shoot, but most of my work with my clients is mental support on the phone, which I'm doing anyway. And the other thing is, because I've invested in a few different businesses. So like, for example, in this situation where most people don't have enough work, Lola, who is my right hand, and I spent the whole of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday working on the business plan document for one of the other businesses that I have invested in, because we had an investor meeting on Sunday afternoon. So I spent 3 days in the middle, and she worked full time. She worked overtime. And she's so indispensable to me that I told her, well, you work so hard on the weekend, you can take the Friday off. But I'm already thinking, shit, if Lola takes the Friday off, what am I going to do? There's nobody else in my team that has the same level of, I can't live without. And well, I also have one other person abroad who is very, very valuable to me. But that's what it means to be indispensable. So, I'm indispensable to my clients because although they can't pay me right now, they're like, Sami, just our business is shut down. So, but what are we doing? I haven't stopped working with them. I said, no problem. You can't pay. It's okay. We are still going to support you. We are still going to create content for you from distance, and we're still going to continue to do what we're doing for you. And once this is solved, then we will, we continue. So because I can afford to pay my team, right? So I'm taking the hit. So that my team is not out of a job. Maybe they will work part-time or 3 or 4 days a week for now. But my team are engaged. My clients are engaged. They feel extremely supported. They feel extremely grateful, and with some of them, we've come up with an agreement to pay half during this period. And even then, to some of them, I've said, no rush. Wait until you get your government grant. Why? Because I have cash flow. I have cash.
Which is really like the number one smart move in a business is to start stockpiling cash. I was saying to my clients middle of last year, start stockpiling cash now, because typically it goes quiet December, January. Start stockpiling, run your year on a 10-month year. And those that did, they're relaxed just now. The people that are not relaxed are having to learn a very, very tough lesson. But, in business, we don't learn lessons from success. We learn lessons from failure. And my career went tits up in 2001 when I broke my leg and was told one day I can't be a cameraman anymore. I had to start again. I moved to Australia 5 years ago, started my business from scratch again. Went through the global financial crisis in 2009, 2010, had a thriving business. So I just choose to be really, like, I'm not naive. I'm optimistic and I'm pragmatic, and I put cash aside, and I don't buy fancy cars and I don't buy fancy stuff. I stockpile, and that's why now I feel I've got breathing room. And it sounds like that's exactly the position you're in.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't buy anything. It's like I have some nice stuff that is currently in the storage, that I haven't needed. I've been living in this Airbnb with like just one skirt, that I've been using to go to meetings and stuff, and now then this has stopped. And I have 2 Balmain jackets that are in the storage that I don't miss. That one of them was a gift for my birthday. Like any designer shoes that are there that I'm fine without them. So I really think going forward, I mean, a lot of those things were gifts when I was in a relationship, but then now I'm not. And I'm thinking, moving forward, I'm not going to buy designer clothes. I'm not going to spend money on those things. I'm investing in things that interest me, because you know what? Despite like having 10 pairs of high heel shoes, and I love shoes, and I think one of the things I want to do one day, I want to bring out my own shoe company, my own shoes. And actually, I'm already working on my next book. Potentially, I have the title in my mind, Walk in My Shoes. And it's about why women have not been as successful as men in business and economy and politics, art, science, everything in history. So it's a kind of like historical research on why women have not been as successful, and then how technology can help us close that gap. So that's my next project, my next book. But yeah, I love shoes. But the thing is that I find myself most of the time, no matter if I have 30 pairs of shoes or 10 or three, there are only one pair of shoes that I seem to be wearing all the time. That's the one that's the most comfortable, and I'm always wearing my leather trousers, which is the most comfortable thing. So like 80-90% of the time I'm wearing that stuff. So it's like, so just wear what is comfortable and don't spend money on bullshit. You don't need fancy car. You need to, we are going into a period of increasing uncertainty. Uncertainty is going to be the defining characteristic of the next few decades. And I don't know if you've read or heard of the book The Singularity is Near, which is very, very interesting, by Ray Kurzweil. And it's a very interesting, like, within the next 20 to 30 years, I'd say that humanity is changing massively, because we are becoming increasingly able to manipulate our bodies, our minds. And so one of the companies that I've invested in is it's in biotechnology, bioelectronic technology. And it's a fascinating area. So the short story, the long, I don't know what the thing is, the medium that the way to say, but essentially, you've got to be sure that you can protect yourself through periods of uncertainty. So don't buy lots of gear. Filmmaking is changing. Maybe this is now the time to explain to you about the niche market that I chose for my business. So the niche market that I've chosen, and now we are currently in a process of revamping our website to be more focused around this, is built around this concept of transition architecture. So the idea is that we are already doing this. So our niche market is thought leaders. It's like people who are, for example, retired and want to start a new career, a new consultancy career, or people who are, most of them, so pretty much all our clients are over 45. So these are people who either have a good level small business and they want to be known as an industry leader in their industry. So, for example, one of our clients is a property finder, and she works on she works on sort of high level. She finds property for mostly kind of people who are coming from abroad, who want to buy property in London, and it's her business is quite niche in a way, right? So, but we are building her profile as an industry leader on LinkedIn. So I'm leveraging my knowledge. So part of it is the video production, but part of it is my knowledge of LinkedIn, and how I have used LinkedIn Sales Navigator to build, our audience essentially. So that's one of my clients. So we are building her. So it's kind of like PR, digital PR, digital PR marketing for thought leaders. So currently we have a handful of clients, so just under 10 clients that we are doing this for. And two of those are, one of them is the MD of Steinway, which means that in addition to building his profile, we are also creating content for Steinway UK. And another one of them is the CEO of this bioelectronic company that I have invested in. So it means that we also get to create content for them. And that's part of my investment, is the work that I do for them. So one thing I would recommend to people is look at investing. Start looking at, don't just think about, here is my services, pay me 400 quid for my day. Think about how can you make yourself so indispensable. Find unique businesses where you can invest and say, look, what I can do for you. Firstly, yes, I agree with being a producer. Don't be just like a tool, because anybody can do that. So if you have the ambition of building a business, it's not for everybody. Many people, there's nothing wrong with freelancing. There's nothing wrong with working as an employee, because that gives you a different kind of protection that many people prefer. What I'm talking about here is for people who want to build a business. If you want to build a business, build a business. Don't be like halfway like this. I don't work as a freelancer. I'm a producer. When people come to me, they say, "Can you film this?" I say, "No, I don't film this." But I turn work down because I'm like also another thing is I don't take any meetings. I do not go to meetings anymore. So I have Lola. She does, because I have built a profile, so people understand that I'm genuinely busy. It's like, I'm working 16, 17 hours a day. So I don't take meetings. So there is no free meeting with Somi. If you want time with Somi, you pay for a strategy session. And that's how all of my clients that are now working with me, all of them, with the exception of Steinway, because Steinway, I developed a relationship with them over 3-4 years. Literally every single client I have, they have first paid for a strategy session with me before they became a client. What that means is that they value your time. They know the value of your time. They know that, I don't even get on the phone call with them. I don't sell.
I agree with you 100%. I have just recently added to my website the same thing. I have a 30-minute strategy session, a 60-minute and a 90-minute. And if you just want to ask me a question, it's $97 and I'll record you a video answer. Because in the filmmaking industry, I increasingly have people saying, "Hey, I love your show. Could I just ask you a quick question?" It's like, great to connect. Of course you can. Over here is the options. And it's interesting how many people suddenly don't have the question anymore, which is great.
Yeah.
Because I value my time, you value your time, and therefore when people pay, they pay attention.
Yeah, and exactly. So like they're one of the best books that I read early on when I started, thinking about building the business in this way. It's a book called Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley that I
love that book. It's phenomenal. It's an incredible book.
And I love Daniel. I did his KPI course as well. I wouldn't say, the KPI course was great. But, I think if somebody doesn't have necessarily, I wouldn't say that the KPI course or any course will change your life. The changes that I made are not as a result of that. They are as a result of, that sort of was like it was a good like starting point. And the thing that I did with you, it was definitely a starting point of like switching something. But ultimately, you need to gain the courage to change your business model. And the reason why people don't gain that courage is because they haven't done their homework. Because if you, down inside you, if you believe that you are not worth that you don't have that worth, if you are not clear to yourself, what is it that makes you special and different? Not in an egoic way. I told you, like I'm losing my ego day by day, not in an egoic way, but in the sense of I have 16 waking hours in the day, I'm trying my best to get 7-8 hours. I'm actually wearing this ring now, which is like it monitors my sleep and all my movement and everything. And like I'm trying my best, to get enough sleep so that I have. So okay, let's say I have 16 waking hours in a day, right? I have to have time to go for a walk. I have to have time to meditate. So I need some time for myself, for self-reflection. I need enough time to eat. So really, when I say I work 16, 17 hours of the day, most of that is in the form of I'm listening to an audiobook while I'm eating or walking or whatever. Because when I say I'm working, when I'm reading or listening to a book, that's working, because I'm always, developing. So I have put so much effort into my own development, to a point that you can give me any context, almost any context, from biotechnology to real estate to future of work, like to anything, right? And I will be able to create, or direct my client to get the best out of them, and to give them ideas that they hadn't thought of, And that's what happened in our work with Steinway. Like, I've encouraged them to start thinking about creating content, and I've me and my team now, Lola also helps with the script, Elizabeth helps with the scripts. So we come up with suggestions, scripts for them, for Steinway, for my client in real estate, everything. We come up with suggestions with them, say on, for example, with my client in real estate, I said, you should start talking about the economy of, house buying. You should start talking about smart houses, how technology is changing, the house market, how WeWork is changing the housing market, how working from home, how, all these things. So she has gone from being a property finder to being a commentator from an economic point of view. So now we are putting her forward to journals, to magazines, to websites. So what we do is no longer just video production. We are promoting her. We are promoting her to. We're putting her up for speaking engagements. So it's like building someone's profile. It's the bigger picture, because we look at the person and say, what is this person's problem? How can I solve that problem? Their problem is to build their profile. To I suppose you couldn't call it a problem, but their challenge is to build their profile so that they can get more business. So my goal is to generate more business for her and build her profile. My goal is not to make her some videos and charge her for that.
Well, Somi, I think that's a beautiful place to kind of wrap up our conversation for now, because it's so valuable. And I think some people will struggle with this concept, but what I love is that you've ridden the road, you've put rubber on the ground, you've invested financially, you've made content, you've pivoted your business multiple times, and essentially have created your own genre. So where can people learn about the book? Where can people learn about you? Where can they find you and connect with you?
Well, depending on when you're going to put this out, we are just launching the somiaryan.com website. So from now on, everything to do with my personal work will be there. So Smart Cookie Media is going to be focused on this concept of transition architecture, which is where we help thought leaders transition, to build their profile and transition and navigate through the impact of technology on their business. That's what that business is going to be about, Smart Cookie Media. But then in terms of my book, my content, that will be on somiaryan.com.
Well, we'll link to that on the blog post to do with this episode, and we'll also connect. We'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile as well, where people can connect with you. Somi, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's so exciting to have. We met at a Sony event at Pinewood Studios, I don't know how many years ago, and you were interested in the camera. It would have been a good 8, 9 something years ago. And what I love about being able to do this podcast is having these conversations and to be able to connect again with you. And thank you so much for sharing what I'm certain, if people are really listening, will be life-changing information.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Dan. And you definitely have had a big impact on that journey. You were one of the people who helped with that light bulb moment. I think that you have given, the truth is, I feel that like you have given that light bulb moment to a lot of people. Not everybody may have taken it. And I think I'm one of those people that did take it and, turn it into something.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you got a huge amount of value from that episode. If you're looking for additional support or resources to support your business journey, then head over to denlenny.com, where you can get a whole heap of other resources, free downloads, and access all the other episodes in this series. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.